Look at those beauties. Hey, Boomy. You want to go to camp? I've been traveling down this road every summer for 40 years. Every summer, every year. Past the Triangle House, left at the Beanstalk, over the roller coaster hump, through Shaker Village, and onto a little dirt road that winds around an old shaker pond, ending at a place the locals around here have called Frenchman's Cove since probably like the 1960s. And I have the great honor of being the third generation of those very Frenchmen. Every time I take this drive, it brings me back. Every time. I go right back to the anticipation of where I'm going. I remember as a little kid, I would memorize all those landmarks. 1 hour drive, it felt like an eternity for a little kid. So these landmarks would help me know how close I was because my parents were so sick of me asking. In the late 1950s, my grandfather and his kin, who I'll refer to as the founding Frenchmen, bought some small pieces of land on an old shaker pond and just started building. They had no power and no water. They used hammers and hand saws and built these cabins on their weekends. Every piece of wood, think about that. Every piece of wood cut by hand. Every nail driven by hand. Sweat, blood, and tears. Definitely tears, because you know us Mayos are emotional. They started one cabin, and then when that was what you would call dried in, they start the next one. I'm sure at the time, my grandpa was thinking this is going to be a great place to relax for his wife and kids, and that was probably about it. After all, it's just a camp. This place became so much more than that, though. It's not the quality of the place that makes it great. This is just a camp on a pond. It's built literally with scrap lumber and spare time. But over time, this place became a family magnet. Every time we all could, we would all stay here. My aunts, my cousins, brothers, all of us, we stayed here. And because we were all here, we all became closer than most families get to experience. My aunts and uncles are closer to me than a lot of my friends' parents were to them. And my children share that same benefit. This camp has now housed 5 generations of Mayos. The common factor for literally countless traditions and countless memories. It's the reason I think my family is so close, this camp. I think about how grateful I am for that. How lucky I am my grandpa decided to put his time and effort to build this, something that is so precious, time. And it makes me realize that there is definitely something to be said about the value that nostalgia can bring. Have you ever been back to your first home you lived in? Or at least the first home you had good memories in? Now imagine stacking up all those memories that you had there for 5 generations of people. 65 or 70 years of shared memories together. The memories my father holds are compounded by the memories I have. The memories that I have are now compounded by my children's memories. I think we all need a sort of camp. We all need a place to store our memories together like generations of treasure. A place we can return to and remind ourselves of the good old days, no matter where we may be now. Maybe you haven't been as fortunate as I have, but that doesn't mean you can't be. After all, my grandfather wasn't born with a camp. He had to bleed in some manner to keep that a reality. And each generation after him has to bleed just a little bit more to keep that. This season coming up is camp season, And I'm going to be making a bunch of videos, but primarily there's going to be two kinds of videos I'm going to work on and I'm going to try out. One, I'm going to share some of the pastime that's happened here over the past 6 decades. And two, I'm going to show you some of that blood, sweat, and tears required to keep something we consider priceless alive and well. It's always been my belief that anything that's a lot of work is very likely worth it. I'm Mike Mayo. This is my camp. Okay, I'm going to show you something about why you should do things right the first time. My grandpa, who I love dearly, built this whole place, and I'm grateful for it. But some of the things he didn't do a great job at. So for instance, he had a low pipe in the plumbing. Instead of fixing it or doing it right the first time, he said, I'll just throw a little ball valve under the camp, and then every year I'll crawl into there and undo it. So what that means is now, every year, I have inherited the ball valve problem. And I have to climb under the camp and get all the way to this ball valve right here and close it. All right. Look at that. Would you just look at it?